Principles of Macroeconomics. Chapter 2. Thinking like an Economist. In this chapter, we answer these questions. What are economists' two roles? How do they differ? What are models? How do economists use them? What are the elements of the circular flow diagram? What concepts does the diagram illustrate? How is production possibilities frontier related to opportunity cost? What other concepts does it illustrate? What is the difference between microeconomics and macroeconomics, between positive and normative? Economists as scientists. Economists play two roles. One, as scientists, they try to explain the world. Two, as policy advisors, they try to improve the world. As scientists, economists employ the scientific method. The scientific method is the dispassionate development and testing of theories about how the world works. Scientists devise theories, collect data, and analyze these data to verify or refute their theories. Economists make assumptions. Assumptions simplify the complex world and make it easier to understand. For example, to study international trade, scientists assume only two countries producing two goods. Economists use models to study economic issues. A model is a simplified representation of a more complicated reality. Circular flow diagram. Circular flow diagram is a visual model of the economy. It shows how dollars flow through markets, among households and firms. The two decision makers are business firms and households. They are interacting in two markets: market for goods and services, market for factors of production or inputs. The two institutions, households and business firms. Households own factors of production and they sell these factors of production or rent them to business firms. These business firms use the factors to produce goods and services, which they sell to the household. So households buy and consume goods and services. On the side, business firms buy or hire factors of production. They use them to produce goods and services. And they sell these goods and services to the households. The two markets where these two institutions interact are markets for goods and services and markets for factors of production. In the goods market, goods and services are bought and sold. The sellers are the business firms and the buyers are the households. In the market for factors of production, inputs are bought and sold. The sellers are the households and the buyers are the farms. And so households sell or lease out their resources through the factor market to the farm. The farm pay for this by way of rent, wages, and profit, which flow through the factor market back into the household. The household will spend this income, we call this consumption spending, on the goods and services that businesses produce. So businesses receive that as revenue. The production possibilities frontier is another model. Production possibilities frontier, or PPF, is a graph that shows various combinations of outputs that the economy can possibly produce given the available factors of production and the available production technology. Example 1, the PPF. Assume the following. A country produces two goods, call them airplanes and soybeans. It has a fixed amount of resources, call it labor, and it has a fixed amount and quality of technology. The available resources and technology can be used to produce either only soybeans, 5,000 tons can be produced, or only airplanes, 100 airplanes can be produced, or a combination of soybeans and airplanes. Let's look at this in a schedule, in a table form. Combination A, you're only producing soybeans and you can produce 5,000 but zero planes. Combination E, you're producing only planes but zero soybeans. Combination B, C, and D, you are producing combination of both airplanes and soybeans. So these are just a few of the possible production combinations. To increase the production of airplanes from 0 to 20, how many tons of soybeans do we have to give up? As you can see, when you move from A to B, you're moving from 0 to 20, you're getting 20 planes, but you're losing 2,000 soybeans. That is the opportunity cost. Let's plot this information on a graph, drawing the production possibilities frontier. When you plot this table on a graph, you put soybeans on the horizontal axis and airplanes on the vertical axis. You plot the two intercepts. The horizontal intercept is this point, 5,000 soybeans and zero planes, and the other intercept is the vertical intercept is 100 airplanes and zero soybeans, or a combination thereof. 20 airplanes means 4,000 soybeans can be produced. 50 planes means 2,500 soybeans can be produced. And 80 planes means 1,000. And you can see when you join, you form a straight line, and that is called production possibilities frontier. This is a device that really illustrates and clarifies the trade-offs that we face. You produce more airplanes means less soybeans, or you produce more soybeans means less airplanes. The economy is efficient when the economy is getting all it can from the scarce resources available, and points on the production possibilities frontier A, B, C, D, and E are called efficient. Inefficient levels of production, those are points inside the production possibilities. Any point to the left of this line is inefficient or inefficient level or underproduction. Not feasible is a point outside. To the right of this line is not feasible. The economy cannot afford to produce what is out here given its available resources. Active Learning 1 points off the production possibilities frontier. Use the graph from the previous example. Would it be possible for the economy to produce the following combinations of two goods? Point number F, 80 airplanes and 4,000 tons of soybeans, or 30. Point number G, 30 airplanes and 2,500 tons of soybeans. If we look at the graph, we can place this point as 80 airplanes and 4,000 soybeans, and since it is to the right of this curve, it is not feasible. Point number F, 80 planes and 4,000 tons of wheat is not possible, not feasible at all. What about the second example? And that is 30 planes and 2,500 tons of soybeans. That is feasible. Point G, which is 30 planes and 2,500 tons of soybeans, that is possible, but you're not doing as well as you should. You are underutilizing your resources. What we know so far points on the production possibilities frontier like A through E, that is efficient. Efficient, all resources are fully utilized. Points under the PPF like G, that is possible, but it is not efficient. Some resources are underutilized, e.g., workers are unemployed or factories are idle. Points above the PPF, like point number F, that is not possible. Moving along the PPF. Moving along the PPF involves shifting resources from the production of one good to the other. And in this case, society faces trade-off. Getting more of one good requires sacrificing some of the other. The slope of the PPF is the opportunity cost of one item in terms of the other. Example 2, the PPF and the opportunity cost. To produce the first 1,000 tons of soybeans, you have to give up 20 airplanes. The opportunity cost of airplane is fill in the gap. The opportunity cost of 1 ton of soybean, you can calculate it by finding the slope of this line. Economic growth and the PPF. With additional resources or an improvement in technology, the economy can produce more. How do you show that? You show that by the rightward shift of the production possibilities frontier. Economic growth shifts the PPF outward to the right. That means you can now produce more of airplanes and more soybeans, or more of any other combination in between. The shape of the PPF. The shape of the PPF is a straight line. That means there's constant opportunity cost. You know that the slope of a straight line is a constant. Previous example, the opportunity cost of one airplane was 50 tons of soybeans, if you solved that last question. The slope of the PPF is usually bowed out, which reflects increasing opportunity costs. In reality, the PPF is not a straight line. Costs are not constant. As more units of a good are produced, we need to give up increasing amount of the other good produced. That is the correct shape of the production possibilities frontier. It is concave, bowed away from the origin. So, why the PPF might be bowed outward? One, as the economy shifts resources from beer to mountain bike. This example, we are producing beer on the vertical axis and mountain bike on the horizontal axis. The PPF becomes steeper and the opportunity cost of mountain bikes increases. The slope of this curve gets steeper and steeper as you come down here. That means the opportunity cost of mountain bikes also increases. So if you move at point number A, at point number A, the opportunity cost of mountain bikes is very low. Why? Because at A, most workers are producing beer. Even those who are better suited at building bikes are producing beer. But as you acquire more and more mountain bikes, you get to point number B. At point B, opportunity cost of mountain bike is high. At B, most workers are producing bikes. The few left in beer production are the best brewers out there. The PPF is bowed outward when different workers have different skills. There are different opportunity costs of producing one good in terms of the other. There is some other resource or mix of resources with varying opportunity costs. For example, different types of land suited for different uses. Micro and macroeconomics. Microeconomics is defined as the study of how households and farms make decisions and how they interact in markets. Macroeconomics is the study of economy-wide phenomena, including inflation, unemployment, and economic growth. Economist as a policy advisor. Positive statements are descriptive. Positive statements attempt to describe the world as it is. They confirm, they can be confirm or you can confirm or refute them by examining evidence. For example, minimum wage laws cause unemployment. You can go out there and verify that. That is a positive statement. Normative statement, on the other hand, is prescriptive. It's an attempt to prescribe how the world should be. The government should raise minimum wage is a prescriptive statement, and that is a normative statement. Active learning 2, positive versus normative. Which of these statements are positive and which are normative? How can you tell the difference? Number A, prices rise when the government increases the quantity of money. Number B, the government should print less money. Number C, a tax cut is needed to stimulate the economy. Number D, an increase in the price of burritos will cause an increase in consumer demand for movie streaming. Answers. Number A, prices rise when the government increases the quantity of money. That is a positive statement. It describes a relationship. You could use data to confirm or refute this. So this is a descriptive statement. Number B, the government should print less money. This is a normative. The word should gives it out. This is a value judgment, cannot be confirmed or refuted. Number C, a tax cut is needed to stimulate the economy. That is another prescriptive. Needed gives it out. That's a value judgment or normative. An increase in the price of burritos will cause an increase in consumer demand for movie streaming. That is a positive statement. It describes a relationship. There's a note here, a statement need not be true to be positive. You can make a statement, it doesn't have to be true, but the point is it can be verified, so it is a positive statement. Economists in Washington. Where do economists work? They are the Council of Economic Advisors. These are the people who advise the President of the United States. They write the annual economic report of the President. What about economists in the Office of Management and Budget? Here, the economists help formulate spending plans and regulatory policies. What about economists in the Department of the Treasury? That is where they design the tax policy. What about the Department of Labor? This is where economists analyze data on workers and those looking for work. They formulate labor market policies. What about economists in the Department of Justice? They enforce the nation's antitrust laws. What about economists in Congressional Budget Office, CBO? They help the Congress formulate policies and pass legislation. And what about economists at the Federal Reserve? They set monetary policy. Why economists' advice is not always followed? The president receives advice from the economists, communication advisors, press advisors, legislative affairs advisors, political advisors, and the president will make the decision after getting all the inputs. Why do economists disagree? Economists often give conflicting policy advice. Economists can disagree about the validity of alternative positive theories about the world. Economists may have different values and therefore different normative views about what policy should try to accomplish. Yet there are many positions about which most economists agree. Ask the experts here. Ticket resale, laws that limit the resale of tickets for entertainment and sports events make potential audience members for these events worse off on average. What do economists think? 80% of economists agree, 8% disagree, 12% are uncertain. Propositions about which most economists agree. First one, a ceiling on rents reduces the quantity and quality of housing available. 93% of economists agree. Tariffs and import quotas usually reduce general economic welfare. 93% of economists agree. The United States should not restrict employers from outsourcing work to foreign countries. 90% of economists agree. The United States should eliminate agricultural subsidies. 85% of economists agree. Local and state governments should eliminate subsidies to professional sports franchises. 85% agree. Cash payments increase the welfare of recipients to a greater degree than do transfers in kind or equal cash value. 84% of economists agree. A large federal budget deficit has an adverse effect on the economy, and 83% of the economists agree. The United States should not ban genetically modified crops. 82% of economists agree. The minimum wage increases unemployment among young and unskilled workers. 79% of economists agree. Government subsidies on ethanol in the United States should be reduced or eliminated. 78% agree. Think, pair, and share. You're watching PBS NewsHour. The first focus segment is a discussion on the pros and cons of free trade. For balance, there are two economists present, one in support of free trade and one opposed. Your roommate says, those economists have no idea what's going on. They can't agree on anything. One says free trade makes us rich. The other says it will drive us into poverty. If the experts don't know, how is the average person ever going to know whether free trade is best? Think about that. Number A, you can give your roommate any insight into why economists might disagree on this issue. Number B, suppose you discover that 93% of economists believe that free trade is generally best, which is the greatest agreement on any single issue. Could you now give a more precise answer as to why economists might disagree on this issue? Number C, what if you later discovered that the economists opposed to free trade worked for a labor union? Would that help you explain why there appears to be a difference of opinion on this issue? Summary, chapter in a nutshell. Economists are scientists. They make appropriate assumptions and build simplified models. They use the circular flow diagram and the production possibilities frontier. Macroeconomists Microeconomists study decision making by households and farms and their interactions in the marketplace. Macroeconomists study the forces and trends that affect the economy as a whole. A positive statement is an assertion about how the world works. A normative statement is an assertion about how the world ought to be. As policy advisors, economists make normative statements. Economists sometimes offer conflicting advice, differences because of differences in scientific judgment or differences in values.